And meanwhile, Donald Trump says he believes the US is making progress in its talks to end the war between Russia and Ukraine. But he declined to provide any details about any communications he's had with Vladimir Putin. Trump continuing to indicate that the two men have been in contact. It would mark the first officially acknowledged conversation between Putin and the US president since early 2022. Trump again saying we have to get that war ended. So did he? Or didn't he? Has Donald Trump really spoken to his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin or not? Let's discuss the latest. Our international affairs editor Philip Turle is with me here on set. Philip, what's your reading on the latest on this?
Right, Stuart, let's try and break this down, shall we? There is a strong possibility that the two men have spoken to each other. There's a lot of doubt about it. Donald Trump was making these comments on Air Force One to the New York Post newspaper, and he said, well, I better not say how many times I've spoken to Vladimir Putin because obviously there are official talks that are going to be set up where the two leaders will meet. But it's no secret that Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump have spoken to each other. They did get on quite well with each other, and Donald Trump was quite supportive of Vladimir Putin when he was last in office between 2016 and 2020. So there is, I think, a reason to think that they have spoken, but we can't be sure of this. And as for the Kremlin, they've just said, well, they might have spoken to each other, but we don't know because lots of different channels exist and we can't keep tabs on everything. So that's a bit in doubt. What we do know is that the two leaders are scheduled to meet at some point to talk about the war in Ukraine. And Donald Trump has made it pretty clear that he wants to get the war in Ukraine ended as fast as possible. He's also said that he would like to meet Volodymyr Zelensky. That is also a little bit shrouded in doubt because Volodymyr Zelensky is going to the Munich Security Conference this week, but only J.D. Vance is going, not Donald Trump. So are they going to meet outside of that conference? Is Zelensky going to come to the US? We don't know about that at the moment. We also don't know about Donald Trump's peace plan for Ukraine. We don't know how long it's going to take. Remember, he said he was going to solve the Ukraine war in 24 hours. Now it's going to be in 6 months. We still don't know what that plan entails. We don't know whether that plan is just a meeting between Donald Trump on one side and Vladimir Putin on the other. And we don't know whether Volodymyr Zelensky is going to be included in those discussions. Already, Vladimir Putin has said he doesn't want to talk to Volodymyr Zelensky because he says he's not a legitimate president because there have been no elections in Ukraine to re-elect Volodymyr Zelensky. Therefore, he's not a proper partner. So all of these are elements that could be true, might not be true, could bear fruit and might not. And that is really something that Donald Trump is very clever at doing right now, saying lots of things that are making the headlines in the news, but we don't really know whether they are true or whether they are false.
Yeah, it sounds like quite a lot of nothingness to a certain extent. But what reaction, if there's been any, has there been from Ukraine?
Well, Ukraine, I think, remains pretty pessimistic about Donald Trump's chances of ending the war. There's a feeling, I think, that what Vladimir Putin wants to do is to outfox Donald Trump to keep the war going and make sure that he has more chance of winning. There's a worry in Ukraine that the financing from the United States, right down here, 84.7 billion euros, is going to disappear now that Donald Trump has got to the White House. The noises coming out from the White House and from Donald Trump himself are, well, we would like to mine for earth minerals in Ukraine and use Ukraine as a base for storing US gas. And as a result of that, we will continue financing the war in Ukraine. But we don't know how much that financing will be. Will it be on the same level or will it be less financing? So a lot of doubt also about that. And for the moment, we don't seem to be getting much of a clarification from the White House.
So is it another case, potentially then, Philip, of Trump just perpetually occupying the limelight here?
Well, I think that's probably the best way of summing it up. This is like the Trump show. We've had the Trump show since Donald Trump got back to the White House on the 20th of January. I don't know, Stuart, what you think, but as far as I can remember, we've never had a US president who's come up with so many different announcements in such a short period and caused so much coverage. Just to give you a few of those announcements, the Gaza plan, you were just talking about it, Greenland, the Panama Canal, Canada, will they become part of the United States? Plus the cut in US funding, trying to deport the migrants, and the suspense about how Donald Trump is going to end the war in Ukraine. All of this since the 20th of January and other elements as well. I think what we're seeing here is Donald Trump wants to occupy the headlines. Donald Trump knows that there's no such thing as bad publicity, and he will carry on doing that as long as he can keep up the momentum. Now, if you look at a way of how Donald Trump is doing this, you can look at Google Trends. They show the interest in what leaders are doing, and in particular Donald Trump. There was a spike of interest back in 2016 when he got to power. There was another peak in interest in 2021 during the riots at the Capitol, and just a little bit before that during the election campaign when Joe Biden was elected. And there's been another spike just recently since Donald Trump took office, a little bit less than in 2016 and in 2020, but not that much less. How long can Donald Trump keep this up for? That is the question that we can't answer right now. Will Donald Trump come up with more outlandish statements, more propositions, more of his pledges to solve the world's problems, but with no real basis or information about how he's going to do that? It's a very interesting subject, and for the moment we don't really know where this is all going to go.